Thank you. We're going to go to questions. I recognize member for Oshawa.
Thank you very much, Speaker. And I would like to address my question to the Associate Minister of Auto Theft. Appreciated his remarks, especially as we're talking about countering VIN fraud. I see a small piece in this piece of legislation. There was a lot of fanfare before we've actually gotten to see the legislation. I know that a lot of vehicles are registered every year or put on that provincial vehicle registry. I'm curious to know how many of those are ever investigated should it appear that there's a questionable VIN or partial or duplicate, improper, suspicious VIN. I think the answer is 0 of them are investigated or verified. Certainly, I don't think that there's any physical checking happening, which would actually determine the accuracy of the VIN prior to registration. My question is, why won't this government institute a VIN verification system so that we have a preventative measure to protect Ontarians from VIN fraud? This government's big on after-the-crime measures. Where is the preventative VIN?
Thank you. The Associate Minister for Auto Theft and Bear Reform to respond.
Thanks. Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I appreciate my colleague for the question. As my colleague rightly identified, VIN fraud is a growing problem in Ontario. We know the majority of vehicles that are stolen wind up overseas, but that means there is a minority of vehicles, a quite large minority, frankly, of vehicles that are staying here domestic. The way that they're doing that is through VIN fraud. The specifics of the VIN verification services, I think my colleagues met with maybe some of the same people I've met. Certainly appreciate their input. But what we've done, Madam Speaker, we've implemented measures to close some of the loopholes through the Service Ontario process. That's already happened. And then in this bill, by implementing a 6 months in jail time, up to a $100,000 offence. I know my colleague thinks that that's minor. I know the NDP approached the crime. They would probably blame the cars and cut slack for the criminals and give them some slack. Look, putting a new offence where we're going to hold offenders accountable and lock them up seems like the right thing to do, and we certainly hope that our opposition colleagues will support us in this work. Thank you.
Next question, the member for Oshawa.
Thank you very much, Speaker, and I'm glad to have a second go-round, hopefully again with the Associate Minister of Auto Theft, who would suggest that I might blame the cars for VIN fraud. There's always the opportunity to be flip, but I would invite him to be effective in this moment. This is a government that knows that VIN fraud is rampant and is not closing that drive-through lane for criminals. This bill doesn't shut that door. So the minister, Associate Minister mentioned that they're closing loopholes. Not good enough. I want to know why this government is choosing not to institute a VIN verification system. I think that they know that there's a whole bunch of fraudulent VINs sitting on our registry right now, and more getting registered every day, and they're not stopping it, and I want to know why.
Thank you. Associate Minister for a quick response.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The member knows full well about the anti-VIN fraud measures that we put in this bill. I certainly hope that the member will vote for that, but the NDP are missing the point. Speaker, we could talk about process, we could talk about technology. What we need to do is find the criminals, the scumbags that are stealing cars in our neighbourhoods, and we need to lock those people up.